huge news breaking out of The Information, one of our favorite sources, but it's being picked up everywhere from Google. So it seems that Google is working on something called Jarvis that it looks like they may have accidentally let out into the wild very quickly before they reined it back in. But what's so cool about Jarvis, and why name it Jarvis out of from the Iron Man? I don't know, come up with a new name. But it does a little bit of what Anthropic is doing with Claude in terms of controlling your computer. Guys, these are the early days of agents. Regardless of how well they work, and they don't work very well right now, it is just magic to see this thing controlling your computer. So Google Jarvis is Google's attempt at this. We've already seen in the past week or so Anthropic, which has an even worse name, which is called computer use. But essentially, you give it a task, and it takes over your computer and starts typing in the right things. It looks up flights. It looks up everything else. You're trying to plan a trip. It goes to the maps. It is really what the future of agents is. And just seeing this spotlighted and kind of getting a little sneak peek that Google's working on this and what it might look like, this is the future, guys. This is what AI agents is, and more people are doing this. Jaeden, you've been talking about this a lot too. What are you seeing in this space?
Yeah, so I think this is cool. The Information actually broke this story. Shout out to them. And it's actually kind of funny to me how this was leaked. So this whole thing was leaked because they had it briefly available. You could actually go and download it. Anyone could in the Google Chrome web browser extension store. So, like where you get all your Chrome extensions from. And it described itself as, quote, a helpful companion that surfs the web with you. So you can imagine this right now, how they're building it is really that it was kind of built into Google Chrome. And it's tricky because with these agents, there's these technical limitations. And I'll tell you who the big winner is. The big winner is going to be Microsoft, because they own and Apple too. Apple will be a big winner because they actually own the device that you're using. So they can have software installed that really takes control of your entire Windows computer, your entire Apple computer, and run it. Google's going to be limited. They have some Chromebooks, so they'll do some cool things with the Chromebooks, but otherwise they're going to be limited to what they can get away with on the Google Chrome browser. And since pretty much everybody has that, this is going to be essentially their access to everyone's computers. Now, it's really cool. It searches the web. It's supposed to let you do anything you want with AI. You can buy products, you can book flights, you can actually get stuff done. And I think it's going to be a pretty useful tool because most of everything we do is on the internet. But I will say there's going to be some limitations because when you talk about a full-on agent that does everything for you, Microsoft and Apple will have an upper hand because you're going to be able to say, hey, go over to my videos folder, grab this video, upload it to here, edit it here, move it around. So you could be doing things on your device. And I think Google Chrome can actually probably do a lot of that too, because if you're on a software on Google Chrome, you could say, go and upload a file, and the browser can still access your files to upload stuff. So Google will have to pull things off your computer into their cloud in order to work with them, whereas Microsoft and Apple will be able to work with stuff right on your device. So for security reasons, I think, again, Apple and Microsoft are going to have a bit of an upper hand, right? Everything could stay on your device. We're seeing this already with Apple and the iPhone. That's what they're doing with their sort of agent, where your iPhone and Siri can actually accomplish tasks for you. So they're making use of the on-device. I don't know. I'm curious what your thoughts are, Conor, on this, because it's not just Google. So Microsoft and Apple, obviously, the only ones that really monopolize the device. We have Google, ChatGPT, Anthropic. All of them are working on agents. Do you think there's going to be, do you think it's going to be the difficulty for them to overcome not owning the device?
Yeah, it's such a good question. I think that security and privacy is going to be such a big thing that I think owning the device, first of all, because Apple and the iPhone and everything else can restrict what it allows. I mean, once you get into a web browser, it's a little bit different, but Apple is going to have a huge advantage here. I think the other thing, though, is just how, don't take your eye off the ball with Google. They're building things more slowly, but as we talked about the other day, it's extremely comprehensive. So I think Google will have the advantage because of just people on Chrome browsers, although I don't know if Chrome is the most popular browser. Maybe Safari or it used to be like Microsoft Internet Explorer, things like that. So you're right that who owns the ecosystem is going to be extremely powerful. So if you just have a Chrome extension around something, Google's always going to do very well. I also think this may be one of these things where who you use really, really matters. Like right now, if you ask questions to ChatGPT or Claude or Google Gemini or whatever, you're going to get pretty good answers across the board. There's variation, of course, and you and I have our preferences and our preferred tools. But I think when you talk about an agent that really understands what you're trying to do and your preferences, I think we're going to see a pretty big, I think that's where the division is going to come, and people are really going to start differentiating themselves, because whoever does this well, you're going to use an agent that really understands you and really goes to the right things. And I think there could be a real break here in the technology, whereas right now there's been a little bit of convergence between all these tools because they're all pretty good. So that's number one. Number two is, also don't sleep on Google because of Project Astra. So Jaeden, you and I talked a while back when I was at Google I/O over the summer, and we got access to this thing called Google Astra, or Project Astra, which is one of these things where you walk around with your phone and the camera and you say, hey, what's that over there? And you walk by a desk, and then later you're like, hey, where did I put my keys? Oh, I saw it over on the desk. Oh, solve this math problem that's on the screen right now. And Jaeden, by the way, guys, if you're not on Google, YouTube, check out our YouTube channel around this. Jaeden is doing all these demos for you while we're doing it. And that's really cool, because if you start putting all this together, Jaeden, this computer vision, this Astra where you can see everything and start making decisions based on what it sees around it, and then you bring in the agent thing where it can also book everything for you. It can help you work through it, and hey, do this research, and you can see it as it's doing it. I don't know, Google, that plus just the sheer reach of Google's devices and Google's just the number of eyeballs that Google owns around the world. I think you're right. I think Google could have a huge advantage here, but I also think Apple, because they literally own your device, if Apple gets into this game, and by the way, is Apple ever going to get into this game? Where are we, Apple? But I think that those are the things that people are going to really care about. How good is it? And also, what is the, when you have privacy concerns, who are you going to turn to?
Yep, 100%. Okay, I eat my words, because when we're looking at the statistics, it looks like in North America, 56% of browsing is done on Chrome, which is pretty impressive. And
what's that?
30% is Safari. So Safari is pretty big, but North America, Chrome is crushing it. And if you look at globally, it was like over 70% for Chrome. So
wait, go down. Jaeden, what's number 3 on this list? But I'm just out of curiosity.
That's going to be Microsoft Edge. Is pretty much Internet Explorer, and then you have Firefox at 3%, and then little tiny ones. But yeah, Google's the behemoth there. And it also occurred to me as you were talking about Project Astra that they own Android. So really, when you look at the market share of Android versus iPhone, that is globally in 2024, they're in like 70% of all phones are Androids. So they really do own a huge physical device, even though like they're not their devices per se, except the Pixel. They own like the software that's on the device. So they control the device. And if they roll out AI features, it'll be rolled out, broadly there. So I think that Google, Apple, and Microsoft will all be big winners here. And then OpenAI is, they're working to integrate ChatGPT into Apple, but I still have this fear that, people are like, oh, it's cool, we're adding like OpenAI to Siri. But as soon as Apple builds an LLM that's just as powerful that they think could like replace it, maybe it's not even just as powerful, but it's like pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. Mostly, folks, this is an outward-looking episode here because we wanted to fill you in on what agents are looking like, but also just remembering when we think about these, kind of quote-unquote competition between OpenAI and Google and Meta and Microsoft and everybody else. It's just fascinating to see that everybody's working on these things all together, all at the same time, in parallel. Release date really, really matters, but that's the really, really critical thing, is what is going to happen when all these tools actually come out and people actually get to use these tools and test them out for themselves. Agents are on the way. We are going to find out how well they integrate and make your life better. Okay, so listen, guys, test these things out when you can see them. Watch the demos. Even if you don't have your hands on them yet, see how your friends are using them or see how we're using them at X. It's a great resource to check out these demos. I highly recommend it just to see where the near future is going. And if you liked this episode, we ask you all the time, I'm going to ask you again, if you wouldn't mind leaving a rating and review. It really would mean a lot to us. Really, really appreciate it. Otherwise, folks, have an amazing rest of your day.